Hello, my name's Bill Webster and today I'm talking to you about basic umpiring. And in basic umpiring, we're responsible for the safety and the fairness of the races. The races are under our direct control, and in basic umpiring, in the terms of basic umpiring, we'll be responsible for generally only a portion of the race that where we'll be stationed on the bank, and it's the part of the race that comes past us. But we are still responsible for the race. And it's not just the fairness, but the safety, and the safety always trumps fairness. The main thing we're looking out for in a race is interference. And interference is where the blade or the boat encroaches into the opponent's lane. In each race, what we're concerned about looking for is interference. Interference is when a blade or the boat encroaches into the opponent's lane and causes disadvantage by either contact or wash. If a crew causes interference, it may, not necessarily, but may be excluded, but in principle it should be warned first. To warn a crew, and this is where we get into steering or directing a crew, to warn a crew, we raise our white flag. If we're in an umpire's boat, we raise our white flag directly above our head and call the crew by name, and then lower the flag to the side we want the crew to go to. If we need to direct a crew and you're in an umpire's boat, we do this by raising our white flag directly above our head, calling the crew by their name, their club name, and then lowering the flag to the side we want to direct them to. If you're in a static position on the side of the bank, that position is obviously compromised. You're not behind the boat, they cannot see you. So you'll use your megaphone and you will direct the crew by voice and try and call the crew either to the far side or to the near side, stroke side, bow side if you know what that is. But in principle, you just have to do the best you can to direct the crews apart and keep the interference to a minimum. Occasionally, it may be necessary to stop a crew. To do this, when you're in an umpire's boat, you raise the white flag directly above your head and you call that crew and say stop. That is only for that crew. And this is different from stopping a race. If there is actual interference, you may need to stop a race. To stop the race, you raise your red flag, you ring the bell, and you say as many times as necessary, stop rowing all crews. But the moment the red flag is raised, the race is over. So it's important to only use the red flag when you are going to stop a race. If disadvantage occurs, our solution to it is to try and remedy for disadvantage and restore the chances of the crew that has had their chance taken away from them. We can do this by stopping a race, removing the crew that's caused the disadvantage and returning the remaining crews back to the start, or we may let the race proceed and remove the crew that's caused the disadvantage. As long as you look for the most appropriate solution that restores the chance of that crew that's had its chance taken away. At the conclusion of the race, it's our job to clear the race if it's all clear. If there's been no disadvantage or interference, we clear the race, and that means the results can be processed and medals can be awarded, etc. We clear the race by raising the white flag, showing it first to the crews and then to the judges. We also check for the safety and the wellness of the competitors, make sure no one's having an adverse health reaction. If necessary, if they are, we call for the rescue. If you're umpiring on a river and you're in a static position, the judge will basically clear the race. What may happen from time to time, if there has been disadvantage or some interference, and it's maybe the competitors are of the view that it's been interference, but you're not, the competitors will raise their hand. Where you see a hand being raised at the conclusion of a race, you go over to the competitor and you find out what their problem was, ask them, and you make a judgment. Yes, there's been interference. No, there hasn't. If there has been interference, you come back to the question of what do I need to do to restore this crew's chances? Is it exclusion of the other crew or is it a rerow? You do not change the result or the order of the finish. The only thing you can do is to exclude a crew. You would then advise the judges. If you're in a static position, the judges will see the hand raised and the president of the jury will go over to the crew and find out and make some inquiries. Where there has been interference in a river type race where there's no following umpire and someone raises their hand, what will probably happen is the president of the jury will come over the radio and ask umpires up the line, has there been any interference? Have they witnessed anything untoward in that race? This is where it's important that you must pay attention to all the races that go past you, and where you see something, whether you've been able to separate the crews or not, you write down a note, make notes in your program, the race number, what it is you've seen. Because if you've got some backup, some written notes, you have an account of what's occurred, and that is what the referee, the president of the jury, is looking for in order to make a determination about the race. So, most important, every race that goes past, if you see something that's occurring in the race, whether you've been able to have an influence and separate the crews or not, write down what you've seen. Okay? The equipment we need to umpire is similar to what we use elsewhere. We have our radio, of course. We have flags. As I mentioned, we have a white flag and a red flag. We try not to touch the red flag because that means we stop the race, and we try to do that as seldom as possible. Our white flag is our main one that we use to direct the crews. We also have a bell which we use to stop the race if necessary, and of course the radio. There are a couple of scenarios we might face when we're umpiring, either on a river or a lake, and one of the more common ones is where a piece of debris or a log or something drifts into the path of the competitors. Now, this can be tricky in that the thing may be moving. If it is, the best thing to do is try and gauge how well it's moving. If it can clear the course, if the competitors are far enough away from it and you can clear the course, let it go. But monitor it and just be really mindful of it. But we want to try and keep the races moving as best we can. If it's a relatively small piece of debris and it's fairly stationary, have a go with either your flags or your megaphone or your voice to try and direct that crew that's in that lane around the object. If you can successfully, if you reckon you can successfully direct the crew around the object with negligible interference, negligible disadvantage, do so. We want to try and keep the races going as much as possible. If, however, you're going to be unable, or the thing is too big, or you're unable to direct crews around it, there is unfortunately only one remedy in this circumstance, and that is to get out the red flag, get out your bell and stop the race. And this is because this would be an unfairness, a disadvantage to a single crew, and so there's only one course of action. That's must stop the race, send them all back to the start and have another go. And of course we get the rescue or someone else to clear the debris. The other scenario we may face is basically on rivers where crews have to go through bridge arches, especially on places like the Yarra. Now, the bridge arches are part of the course. The lanes will be marked which crew has to go through which lane. Sometimes you may see a crew that you think is going to hit the bridge pylon. Do your best to direct that crew with your megaphone into its correct lane, into its correct bridge arch and away from the pylon. If in this circumstance you're unable to direct the crew and you think it's going to hit the bridge arch, the bridge pylon, you do not stop the race, you stop that crew alone. So this is like if you were in a motorboat, you would raise the flag and call that crew to stop. Most likely you'll be on the riverbank, not in the boat, you won't have a flag. just call that crew by name and call that crew only to stop, because it's not the fault of the other crews. There's no disadvantage to the other crews. So the race can proceed, but that crew, you want to try and prevent them from suffering any damage. Okay, that covers most of the scenarios for umpiring. The important thing is to keep it simple. Remember what we're trying to do, and that is where we see disadvantage, we're trying to restore the chances of the crew that's had them taken away. And there's various ways we can do that, most likely by excluding a crew or re-rowing, those sorts of things. But we're trying to restore the crew, the chances of the crew that may have had them taken away. And our governing principles are safety and fairness. Hope you've enjoyed that. Hope you've learned something. Good luck with the other parts of the course.